Once upon a time, there was a man named Elias who lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone. He was the kind of person people called when they needed honest advice, not flattering advice, honest advice. And for a long time, people loved him for it. His neighbor asked him once, "Should I start this business?" Elias studied it quietly and said, "No, the numbers don't add up. You'll lose everything in 8 months." The neighbor was hurt, but he listened, and he was saved. Word spread. People began to trust Elias the way they trusted a compass. They came to him before every big decision. He never softened the truth. He never dressed it in comfortable lies. He simply told people what was real. And for a while, that made him beloved. But something slow and invisible was happening beneath the surface. People were beginning to feel something uncomfortable around Elias. Not gratitude, something closer to unease. Because when someone always tells you the truth, they become a mirror. And most people, deep down, are not ready to see themselves clearly. His close friend Marcus was about to marry a woman that Elias knew had been dishonest in ways Marcus hadn't noticed. Elias told him gently. Marcus didn't speak to him for 2 years. A business partner asked if his plan was strong. Elias said no and explained exactly why. The partner smiled, thanked him, and then quietly removed Elias from the project. One by one, slowly, the people who had called him wise began to call him something else: harsh, cold, difficult to be around. Here is what science and human behavior research have actually found. The human brain is wired to protect its own beliefs. When someone challenges those beliefs, the brain reacts the same way it reacts to physical danger. It wants to escape, and often it escapes by removing the person who told the truth. This is not weakness, it is ancient wiring. For thousands of years, social belonging meant survival. Being challenged felt like being rejected by the tribe, so the brain learned to prefer comfortable agreement over painful accuracy. Elias had never understood this. He believed that truth was the highest form of care, that honesty was the deepest kind of loyalty. He was right, but the world was not always ready for what was right. One evening, an old woman in the town who had watched all of this quietly came to sit beside him. She had lived long enough to understand what he had not yet learned. She said, "There are 2 ways to tell the truth. One way breaks the branch. The other way bends it gently until it finds its own direction." Elias sat with that for a long time. He did not change what he believed, but he began to change how he carried it. He learned that honesty without tenderness is just force wearing a noble name, that the goal was never to be right, the goal was to reach people, and you cannot reach someone you have frightened away. In the months that followed, he still told the truth, but he began to arrive at it slowly, walking beside people instead of ahead of them. And something shifted. The same truths, now wrapped in warmth and patience, began to land differently. People did not feel attacked, they felt seen. There is a quiet lesson buried in all of this. The most powerful version of honesty is not the kind that proves how clearly you see. It is the kind that makes the other person feel safe enough to see clearly themselves. Elias never became someone who softened truth into lies. He simply learned that truth, delivered without care, can close the very door it was meant to open. The real question is not whether you are honest. The question is whether your honesty serves the person in front of you, or only the idea you have of yourself.